The data doesn't necessarily show that less guns leads to less school shootings or less gun violence. What about the mental health problem in this country with people being overprescribed medication?
And I apologize.
Well, you're obviously very much against getting guns out of dangerous people. 15,000 people have died, and I haven't heard you speak about the U.S.-led Saudi war in Yemen. Senator, the CIA has been repeatedly caught selling weapons to terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda. Do you plan to hold the CIA accountable for those actions? Senator, could I?
Yeah, thank you.
Senator.
Yeah, you got to talk over here to the staff. Yeah.
Could I get a picture?
Let's
Yeah.
get the pictures. Yeah.
Picture real quick. Right there.
Okay, here we go.
Good. How's it going? Could I ask you a couple questions? Why you think gun reform is so necessary at this point in time? Why do you think it's so necessary to push for more gun reform?
People can buy guns right now who shouldn't have them. We need background checks wherever people buy them in our country. We just have to make sure that agenda gets completed by the end of this year.
And what about the mental health problem in this country with people being overprescribed medication? The majority of school shooters have been on psychiatric medication. Do you think that's also a problem in this country? Do you think that's correlated with the school shootings, overprescription of psychiatric medication?
Well, again, I believe that everyone who wants to get a license should have to go into the police station where the local police would have a good idea of everyone who should not have that kind of a weapon in their possession. That would have happened down in Parkland. So do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, the shooter was actually also on psychiatric medication. That's what was overlooked.
That probably would have come to the attention.
Well, it's not necessary. The data doesn't necessarily show that less guns leads to less school shootings or less gun violence. That's not what the data necessarily shows.
No, that's not so. In Massachusetts, our gun laws are much stronger than the rest of the country.
Yeah.
If the rest of the country actually had our gun laws, the total number of deaths would drop from 33,000 down to 6,000 in the country as a proportion of the kind of deaths that we see in our country and in our state. So that's not accurate.
Well, I think a lot of people would counter that by pointing to Chicago. Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, and they also have some of the highest gun violence in the country, so they could counter that.
I'm looking at the totality of the country, okay, in terms of the guns, and I don't know where the guns come from that go into Chicago. I don't know what the source of those are. But again, we're looking at 33,000 deaths, a relatively small percentage of them, thank God, are school-related shootings.
Yeah.
But 33,000 gun-related deaths we know can be reduced if we reduce access as a means of instrumentality of killing. And I apologize.
Well, you're obviously very much against getting guns out of dangerous people. Why haven't you spoken about the U.S. Saudi-backed war in Yemen? That 15,000 people have died, and I haven't heard you speak about the U.S.-led Saudi war in Yemen.
Last week, yesterday, by 50 votes, lost.
A lot of that reefer madness mentality, misinformation.
And do you think the CIA should be held accountable for the weapons it sells to terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda? Senator.
No problem. My best to him, tell him I'm thinking about it. Yeah, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Senator, the CIA has been repeatedly caught selling weapons to terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda. Do you plan to hold the CIA accountable for those actions?
Do you mind if I just get in a word?
There are too many weapons that are being introduced.
Do you think the CIA should be held accountable?
Do you mind if I get in a word?